Yes, guys, once again, we're back. Hello, guys, welcome. If you've already seen my channel before, yes, indeed, welcome back. And those who are new, I am the Philadelphia Whovian, doing reviews of story by story of the 12th Doctor's era. And it's been a while since I've been doing reviews of his episodes because there's always something that keeps on coming up. So I know it's been a while, but yes, I'm back doing it again. And so this story is Series 9, two-parter, as we all know the Series 9 was two-parters. The two-parter of Under the Lake Before the Flood, written by very respectable writer of Doctor Who, Toby Whithouse, or Whitehouse. However you pronounce it, y'all, don't get me lying, alright? Guys, did I just sound black there? Oh my god, I think I just sounded black for a second. This is a unique accomplishment for me. Oh my god, oh my god. Okay, sorry. Okay, back to the video. Truly, though, that is a very unique accomplishment for me. And my apologies if I start sweating throughout the video. I am a woman without air conditioning because I'm too cheap to go buy it. So, without further ado, let's do this review. Under the Lake Before the Flood, yes, two-parter, Series 9, written by Toby Whitehouse. And Toby Whitehouse or Whitehouse, dear God. I'm just going to call him Toby, guys. Let's just go with that. Okay. He's a very good writer. He, of course, there are going to be some episodes that some people love, do not love. That's the way it goes. But overall, he is quite good. Alright, and Under the Lake Before the Flood is about an underwater base near Scotland, not near Scotland, pretty much underwater base in Scotland, where it turns out a few years ago that there was a dam release, and then this valley got completely flooded, and now this base is underground. I believe it is like called the Mug or something, or the Mud. Either way, and these people are underwater in this base. And it turns out there is a craft they find that's out there, and they bring the craft on board with them. And they open it up, and there are markings along the wall, and something happens where the captain or the main guys in charge gets killed by the engine being suddenly released, and he comes back as a ghost along with a Tavolian, who also was a ghost. They have these black eyes, and as a result, they keep on killing or trying to kill other people in the base. It turns out they're only killing those who have seen this message markings that is along this ship. It turns out they are being killed off because they saw this message and they are being used as transmitters. Yes, the ghost people are being made into ghosts on this base. The more ghosts who are made who saw this markings and can transmit this message are what they need. To the point where this force even tricked them to try to get more people to come down to the base, because of course the more ghosts you have, the more transmitters you have. The reason why these ghosts are there are to transmit, send a message to a whole different planet to give them a signal to come and rescue this one character, the, I believe, Fisher King, who's like almost as terrifying as, not as terrifying as the aliens from Alien, but has a menace to him. Very, very good design, I do not deny. And the Doctor and Clara go there just at a time when these people are locked in this, or the people in the underwater base are in this like ferret cage, whatever it's called is, because this cage, it keeps out, it like literally repels at first the ghost. And also, the ghosts only come out during the daylight when it comes to some sort of radiation waves, etc. and so forth. So, we find out that these ghosts were hijacked by this alien creature, the Fisher King, who had landed down on the planet and he was in hibernation. And the Doctor eventually finds out exactly what was the case. In the second part, he goes back in time before this town, this vacant town that was used during the time of the Cold War, was flooded. And he finds out the alien was brought there by a Tavolian. Tavolians are those mole-like creatures from of the God Complex, entertaining characters. And he was like ran like a funeral, like, pirate, whatever that is, like, what are terms, like funeral home. And the Tavolian brought the Fisher King here to be buried on our planet. But it turns out the Fisher King was not entirely dead, and it even killed the Tavolian. And as a result, that's why the Tavolian was the first marker. And then eventually it came down through the captain, who was the second person killed. And then there was a third person who was killed as well, etc. and so forth. And then at the end of the first episode, the 12th Doctor, along with Clara, there's an image of him. It looks like he is dead in the water as well. But it turns out it's a lot more complicated than that. And Clara eventually tells him she saw his dead body, and he is the first one to give into it, but she begs him, like, you die with the next person, you do not die with me. It's about the 12th Doctor and Clara outwitting, the villain and finding out what the solution actually is. And the second part, Before the Flood, opens up with the idea of what I call a time loop almost, where the Doctor's giving this monologue, a soliloquy, if you will, of how a person loves Beethoven and time traveler goes back in time to meet Beethoven, but Beethoven's not there. But he has all of Beethoven's sheet music. He copies it down and sends it out and promotes it as being Beethoven. But then it gives you the concept of, wait a minute, who is Beethoven? Or in fact, is Beethoven the time traveler who had Beethoven's music? Who created Beethoven's music? This idea of a loop. If you know something in the future, you go back in time and you therefore create it, you are the one who actually... So you began the future and you went back in time and you actually created the future that was really began. That concept, and it's going to happen all throughout the second part of Before the Flood. Long story short, the villain does get defeated by the Doctor, actually, and he did, in fact, you could argue he did, in fact, change the future, but it did work in the end because he could create the loop himself. He, turns out, went back in time and created the very thing that happened in the future. So, it's a very unique, very good storytelling. Toby Woodhouse clearly put a lot of time and effort into this. It's overall a very good story, and when I first saw it, it was by far one of my favorite of Series 9, and it still, I think, holds up as being one of the better stories of Series 9. The only problem is it suffers from the sins of the father. My main problem with the Peter Capaldi era, especially the first 2 seasons, is the dark, dank color palette. Now, the dark, dank color palette definitely works for Under the Lake and Before the Flood because it's an Under Siege story. So it works perfectly for that. But the problem is, because it's the same color palette as almost every single story that came before it, that drains its uniqueness. If there was more variation of color palette in the Peter Capaldi era before this, and this just means like a continuation of the same color palette, it would stick out more. But as a result, no, it fits in with the... I don't know, they were going for probably continuity of color, but that led to there being a depressing feel repeatedly, because like I said before, whenever I watch a Peter Capaldi story from Series 8 or 9, then I go back and watch Classic Who, I immediately feel better when watching Classic Who, because Classic Who allowed there to be more color and vibrancy in many of its stories. See, it's all about variation. Variety is really the spice of life. So I think Under the Lake Before the Flood would have stood out more if previous stories before it allowed more augmented color or more vibrancy in their color to allow variation and things to have a more unique feel. Now, this story is a lot of exposition and explanation, and I'm personally okay with that. I like that there was a lot of explanation, a lot of science, a lot of thought went into this story, but I can see why this is a story where if it's not your favorite, I get it, even though it's very good. It can be one of those stories where it's like, okay, that was really, really good, but I might not want to go see that again. It's not you. This is a story where it's very good, it's wonderful actually, a lot of thought, very good detail, attention to detail, the cast is very good, the characters are very good. I love O'Donnell, and I felt so bad when she, spoilers, passed away. That actress, I've always liked that actress, at least I liked, her acting. I don't know her on a personal level, but I always thought she was a very good actress, and I like women like O'Donnell. Clara and the 12th Doctor were wonderful in this. Again, I like the idea of the 12th Doctor getting softer as his tenure goes. I know people that like him mostly in Series 8, where he was a dick. And it's okay to be a dick, and he's a very clever, intelligent dick, of course, but he still was, a little like that grumpy or like gritty, like sarcastic older guy. And that's good to start with, but again, you gotta let character growth happen when you have something like that. Like, I gotta do that. And I like to see that they're doing that throughout Series 9, and Peter Capaldi plays it perfectly well, so I don't see why anyone would really have a problem with it. But with this story, again, I would recommend if you're going to see it and you've never seen it before, put it on subtitles. It will help you follow the story better, because this is such a tight script where there's a lot of explanation being fed to you, that actually, yeah, things can get missed in the shuffle. That's just the way it is. But it's still very, very good. And also sometimes I definitely say watch it with subtitles, because sometimes the music is a little too loud when the characters are talking, or there's more action going when the characters are talking, so sometimes dialogue can get lost in the shuffle. That's my recommendation. Overall, it's a perfectly very good story, but it's a story where if you love it or if you were okay with it, but you have no impulse to go back and rewatch it, both reactions are very correct. It's all about how you feel. So thank you guys so very much for watching. I would recommend this is if you haven't seen it, but you love Doctor Who, this is a must watch episode, even if it's not a rewatch episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon. You were awesome. Guys, stay cool.